I'm only sitting here talking to you because of the grace of God. It's been a lot of life and death situations and times that I could have spent a lot of time in jail. I'm only still married because of the grace of my wife. I'm only still loved because of the grace of the people around me. If I'm being real with you, I only got my job because of that 5 minute grace period. I ain't gonna lie, I be late and I work from home. Don't ask me how, but it happened. And that's the power of grace. So that's what I want to talk about today on this podcast. So what up, though? What up, though? Good morning. Welcome to another episode of the Pick Your Side podcast, where we just talk about real life things and we just be honest and keep it real. And today's topic is grace. This episode, we're going to talk about a couple of different areas of your life where you can extend grace and how to extend grace to yourself. So grace is basically giving somebody something they don't deserve. It's not cutting somebody off because they made one mistake. It's not making somebody feel bad or beating them up because they didn't show up or they didn't do something for you. I want you to remember, we all human. We all fall short and we all gonna make mistakes. We all human, we all make mistakes. That's why it's important for you to extend grace, because it's been times in your life where you needed grace. So my first point I want to talk about is having grace for your parents. I was riding talking to this dude and he was just dogging his parents out, telling me everything his parents didn't do for him when he was a kid and how he'd be a lot further in life if it wasn't for his parents or if he had a different parents. And I told him, I understand where you're coming from. There's some things that they probably could have did better, and wrong is wrong, and we're going to hold them accountable for that. But a lot of times, and it took me having my own kids to realize you can only do what you know. I can't speak for his parents, but I can speak for my parents. I know my mama and my daddy did the best they can do with the information that they had. Me expecting my parents to be perfect or expecting my parents to teach me about certain things that I'm learning in my adult life would be setting them up for failure. That's like expecting your parents to teach you Spanish and they never learned the language themselves. A lot of times your parents are dealing with stuff that they haven't even healed from. They giving you information based on the information that they had or what they had access to. So that's why it's important to show your parents grace. Yes, hold them accountable if they did something out of line, or as you get older and they knew better and they still didn't do that, that's when you can hold them to that fire. But like I said, speaking for me, I know a lot of areas of my life and just the problems that I had. Well, if I had any issues with my parents, was because of the lack of knowledge, not because they intentionally did something to hold me back or not to put me in a position to win. So the second point that I want to touch on is having grace in your relationships with your friends as well as your spouses. People so quick, dog, to cut people off nowadays. One bad moment, one mistake, we done with them. We don't want to hear from them, block them on all social media and everything. But man, there been times in my life where I didn't show up the right way. It's been times in my life where I said something that I didn't mean, or I did something that I shouldn't have did. And people showed me grace. That's why I still have friends. That's why I'm still married. That's why I'm still a father. That's why I'm still a son. That's why I'm still able to exist and have people around me. So why can't you extend grace to the people that you love and that you care about? Now, if it's toxic or they keep doing it over and over or it's just draining you, then leave them relationships. We don't need to keep them around. But if I'm being honest with you, I didn't show up the best this past weekend. I was just dealing with life, had a lot going on, was stressed out, and just overwhelmed. Had a conversation with my wife, and I lost my temper. Raised my voice. We never argue. Been with my wife for 10 years. Never had an argument, but I get out of pocket. I apologized to her, told her I was sorry, and she showed me the grace, and we still rocking good. I wouldn't even call that an argument, but I know I was wrong. And so when you in the wrong and you want grace from somebody, you have to man up, you have to woman up, you have to apologize. Acknowledge their feelings and just let them go through whatever they want to go through. You can't control how somebody responds to you, but it's going to get better. Third point I want to touch on is forgiveness. You may still remember it, but you have to forgive them. You forgiving them for you, not them. Like when you hold on to that pain, you just hold yourself back. And to get past that, you have to forgive them. When I was growing up, I got robbed. I feel like my homies and some people I grew up with set me up. And dude robbed me for $47. And I carried that pain around for years. Like every time I seen him, I wanted to do something to him. And he always had an ups on me. He always had a strap on him, so he'll pull it out. And then there was a moment where I was at the store and I seen him. He ain't had no shirt on or nothing. So I tell my cousin I'm finna go in there and swing on him. And he like, cuz that happened years ago. You moved on with your life. You in college. But if you want to go ahead and do it, let's do it. But let me go to my car first. Let me go get my strap because you know what we're going to have to do. And that was the moment where I forgave him. I had to let that go because I just had so much hate and anger in my heart where I was ready to crash out. But I knew I didn't have it in my heart to hurt him. So why keep carrying it around? Like, I never was taught to do it again in my life, and that's cool. But for me to move on in life and for me to show up the best way and not get triggered from seeing somebody, I had to forgive them and move on. So the last point I want to talk about is showing yourself grace. And this is where I struggle with the most. I can be my biggest critic. I want to be perfect. I don't want to make no mistakes. And I try to rush the process. So when you're going through different things in life, if you want to lose weight and you miss one day in the gym, you're probably telling yourself to quit. If you want to save money and you overspend, you're telling yourself things like you're not good with money. If you're in a relationship and y'all had an argument or disagreement, you're ready to throw the relationship away because you think you ruined it. But let me say, if you had $1,000 and you lost 10, will you throw the $990 away? No, you'll keep it. So why not do the same thing with your life? Just because you had one bad moment, don't give up. Get back on track, because if you don't, you're going to let that one bad moment turn into a bad day. That bad day turn into a bad week. That week turn into a month, and then it's going to turn into a year, and you're going to look up and you done quit and gave up. So don't do that to yourself. So now don't get it twisted, dog. Grace does not mean no accountability. There are still a few things that you need to do. The first thing you need to do is acknowledge what you did wrong or where you came up short. The second thing I need you to do is go ahead and fix what you can. Send them text messages out, pull up on that person and apologize if you need to apologize. But we need to move on. And we need you to go ahead and learn from this situation so you won't run into it again. Because it's not the time to feel bad for yourself, to play victim and beat yourself up. It's the time for you to take ownership and you can move on and to stay in grace. So I need you to show your family grace. I need you to show your friends grace. I need you to show the people around you grace. And most importantly, show yourself grace, because one mistake shouldn't define your whole life or just stop you from building relationships. But this is the end of the podcast, so I'm going to ask you a question, and I need you to pick your side. Are you going to show people the same grace that they showing you, or are you just going to burn every bridge and just give up on all your relationships because of one bad moment? The choice is yours. You pick. But thank you for listening to this podcast. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and have a great day. See you next week.